Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital. It's currently around 9 p.m. here on this Monday massacre in the crypto markets. And what a dump we have seen on Bitcoin, Terra Luna, Chainlink, Ethereum, you name it. Pretty much everything has seen a sharp sell-off. And I think this is kind of the last rug pull before the stock market and the broad indices get an actual, maybe potentially a 1 to 2 week bounce on the fact that now rates have completed its move up. They have completed to pretty much a penny the full inverse head and shoulders formation from the low. And now it's time for it to consolidate, which I do believe will give the market some reprieve. But look at this absolute sell-off in the markets. So it just shows you the power. Once you broke this channel and confirmed below, that the sell pressure was just immense, and that's why it's so important to be on the lookout for these major macro patterns that we have been discussing here for several months, with this bear flag pattern. So ultimately what happened here on this flash crash is you flushed all the way down into that technical gap. Now, a lot of traders are waiting there on the technical gap, myself included. We were picking up shares. However, it just shows you the power of having multiple levels of support when buying crypto, because it's certainly flushed down substantially a lot faster than what I thought. This was pretty much a flash crash. And the one thing I know about flash crash is you generally get a very robust bounce. So the fact that you filled this gap, but in filling this gap, you've actually created another gap, which is roughly here, actually a little bit higher than this gap. So again, I am in the camp that you get a bounce to fill this gap, at least to 35,000. But in reality, over a 1 to 2 week period, if we have a strong bounce in the S&P, the NASDAQ, then we could see a bounce back to this original breakdown zone, the channel. So time will tell. There are plenty of resistance points along the way, including this downsloping trend line that would be keeping you in check. So that'll be a major resistance. It may coincide with you filling this gap. However, we are nibbling on crypto. Well, not nibbling. We're actually accumulating rather decent sized positions. And Bitcoin, our average on Bitcoin right now is around 31,358. I will just draw that in, roughly 31,300 and close enough, 45 there. Okay, so roughly our average is there. We did have key technical levels along the way that we picked up. My chart is very messy because I was also, I've been pretty much day trading it here. The bounces off the lows have been pretty epic in terms of just being able to day trade it, or I should say night trade it right now. But nonetheless, look at this bottoming tail. It'll be key. Obviously, the new day just started. There's still 19 hours and 54 minutes on this futures chart. But the question is, will we keep this bottoming tail? And I certainly do think this is a flush out to spook people out of the markets for this robust rally that we're going to experience, that eventually will run out of steam as we start to trend lower, make new lower lows. But the markets don't go straight down. This is a straight down move, you have a bounce. This is a bigger straight down move. I reckon it's probable that you have a bounce. Let's jump into Ethereum here. Ethereum, flipping to the daily chart. It was holding up better in terms of relative strength. Ethereum is holding a lot better out of all the cryptos, which just shows you that betting on software in the layer 2 space seems to be very promising. Our average on Ethereum is 24.21. It's actually one of our smaller positions at the moment. We didn't have our buy levels spread in as tight, and it clearly didn't take out this double bottom low as opposed to you did on Chainlink over here, as well as you also did on Terra Luna. Terra Luna was a crazy drop. I mean, the fact that in April, this is all the hype around, Terra Luna is backing their balance sheet with Bitcoin. Well, newsflash, the underlying asset, if your balance sheet is made up of an asset that has a strong potential to decline in the short term, what's going to happen to Terra Luna when the underlying asset is declining, as well as the overall liquidity in the whole system. You're being like double hit. So it just shows you that in April 5th, just a little over a month ago, it was trading at 119. I remember shorting it. I should have held the short all the way down. I had no idea we were coming down for this magnitude of a drop. Anyways, but even from 3 days ago, look at the drop, 69-70% from the highs. That matches a lot of the stocks like Netflix, Roblox, Roku, all these companies, Facebook, PayPal. But look at the bounce that you had. So you had a 70% drop in the last 5 days, and then you had a 52% bounce. Isn't that incredible? A 52% bounce. Now, we were in the money slightly. Could we have taken profits? For sure. But ultimately, this is a pretty strong base that I do think you build off of now. So I'm comfortable holding it as a swing trade. I did get into the day trades here, which I'm already out of. But nonetheless, I do think the swing trade price holds. So 38.72 on Terra Luna. If it goes lower, you can see that I had another buy level here at 22.85, as well as 16.26. Those just happen to be some key support zones. This 22.85 level is a massive one in my opinion. It's the previous pivot, breakout zone, another pivot before you actually broke out into your larger trend here. However, Terra Luna, I think, has a tremendous potential to bounce all the way up to this trend line again. You can see that this whole impulse bar was kind of your stop loss trigger bar, where people were just getting stopped out, and it was just this waterfall flush. And you can see it broke this pivot zone, this pivot zone, this pivot zone, this pivot zone. And that's what I've been coming to notice, is that you keep breaking these pivot zones. And this kind of this was a weird little line in the sand to follow. This little flash crash here in Luna, and then it got saved back up. You can see we had a buy level. Our actual last buy level that got hit was right on the line, and it's proving to pretty much hold. But you do have these rare occurrences where the stops get run out, people lose their trade, they wake up the next morning or next week and they don't even know they lost their Terra Luna trade. But ultimately there's a potential for a 120% bounce. That doesn't mean I change my thesis in terms of Terra Luna probably going lower as the cycle goes lower. But nonetheless, from our level, we could probably make 50% or so. Will I stay in it for that long? Probably not, but there's a good chance that we can get there with a robust bounce in the markets. I will continue to add at these two levels. I may lower this 22.85 one because now we've bounced off of it and we're starting to consolidate. So far, this power bounce, if it can hold these upper bars here, then it stands to suggest that it could build a bull flag to potentially move higher. That's what we're looking for. You will have support obviously at the double bottom. There is a possibility that you could check back to see the double bottom. I may consider adding there. It just really depends on how it gets there, and if I see any other outlier potential volume spikes. Flipping back to Chainlink, we're still slightly out of the money. You can see on Chainlink that you hit these pivot zones, these support zones, pivot high. This was your impulse move breakout. Check back before you went to make all-time highs. Another pivot, and look what you hit right in there. And then ultimately you do have these major pivots down here. So the fact that we are now holding a position, basically an average of around this dotted line here, 840-ish, that is a really, really great price when you consider where Chainlink was trading at the beginning of the year, all the way at 28. So if we measure how far that is, we just bought in less than 4 months. Chainlink has now fallen 70%. Well, scratch that, 72% from the start of the new year. Not from its all-time highs, but from the start of the new year. From its all-time highs, Chainlink has fallen 85%. That's incredible. It really, really is. But just from the start of the year, 72%. And the fact that now, if you were an investor at the start of the year who bought Chainlink thinking 2022 is going to be an epic year for Chainlink in terms of the long side, then I'm afraid you're horribly mistaken. And I really hope that you sign up for some trading services, whether it's here at Trading Capital or someone else's, just you need some help. But nonetheless, there's always another trade around the corner that you can learn from, and the losers often teach you the most. But if you have a 72% drop on Chainlink, we could easily have, I'm not saying you're going to go to the top of this channel, but there's always that possibility you could have a massive 100% mega bear market bounce. Because when you look at actually what's transpired is the Federal Reserve, they haven't withdrawn really any money. The balance sheet is still expanding. Yes, it's not expanding as fast, but it's still expanding. So all that money that made these stocks go up higher, there's still a lot of it floating around in the system. It's just the perception and fear of what the Fed is currently doing that has dropped these markets. So a lot of the money has flocked to cash. You've seen that as the US dollar has rallied. So there's still a lot of cash on the sidelines that could push these stocks a lot higher than people think on these bear market bounces if the sentiment and changes to a more optimistic sentiment. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Bear market bounces are huge, but yeah, the fact that we have bought Bitcoin 25% lower when it was trading basically a few days ago, the fact that we've bought Terra Luna now, how many percent lower from 5 days ago? 56% lower. That's incredible. And from the start of the year, 67%. That's truly incredible. I'm very proud of that. I do expect these cryptos to have a decent follow-through bounce. So that's the thing. We always like to have our cash on the sideline. We have our levels planned out. We inch in. We accumulate a good position. And then we'll look to see where this price stabilizes. This is a flash crash. I think the markets get their robust bounce, and that should close the week positive. And then we'll just see where our positions are at that time. But swing trading is pretty cool because we still have so much maneuverability in terms of adding and dollar cost averaging into our positions. I'm not worried about crypto. Yes, I do think they still go lower, but nothing goes down in a straight line. The sentiment is so bearish. So bearish. But stay alert. I think Terra Luna will probably be one of the first ones we look to take profits on. Terra Luna has been showing it up until this crash. Terra Luna was showing the most relative strength in terms of it holding its price, but it was having this widening formation, which is concerning because you didn't make a robust new high, and it was all on light volume. Nonetheless, it was holding up better, and obviously during the sell-off, it has performed the worst pretty much out of the bigger caps. And which stands to suggest, though, that it will have likely the biggest bounce if the markets catch a bid and if Bitcoin catches a bid, which I think is a high probability. So stay tuned for more alerts. I hope this helps, and don't buy into the fear in the media, but definitely buy into the fear and all this massive capitulation. Just simply look at this volume spike in relativity to the previous volume spikes going all the way back to here, May of 2021. Massive capitulation and volume. So that just shows you that it's a freak out, and there's an opportunity here when there's this many people running for the door, on the back of Tether making an announcement that most people have probably already known about and the markets have priced in. It's certainly a panic, a real panic, an oversell in my opinion, which gives us a great entry to build off of. Thank you all again for being